Greetings, YouTube. Robots are a part of a whole lot of science fiction settings. I know they don't play much of a role in Star Trek, and that's always mystified me. Um, but if it's Star Wars or the Orville or any franchise out there that is even kisses up against the AIs, Ultron from Avengers, for example, robots and AI type characters are everywhere. And one of the things that always kind of bothered me about them is that we, the audience, are organic things. We're meat computers, and we're not particularly fast. And the characters that are not AIs are also meat computers, and they're not terribly fast. Um, and the reality is that robots should be able to kick our ass 10 out of 10 times, because computers operate millions of times a second. There simply is no way a human brain can compete with something that can be doing calculations that fast. In addition, why do robots talk to each other? I understand that the audience needs to hear what's going on, but by giving us that concession, they turn the robots into just another type of meat computer. Because realistically, a robot just sends a radio signal, which moves at the speed of light, to tell every other computer that they're connected to what's going on, and then the story ends. I know, to drive the story, you can't let that happen. But it's become so glaringly obvious to me that it detracts from my ability to believe in the universe. I've done the same thing. But now you have to kind of contrive why they don't. I was reminded tonight when I was watching the Mandalorian, the latest episode, so spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. Though by the time you see this, the season will be over. The idea of being pursued by bots, physical bots, who are chasing you? How? They just send a radio signal alerting every single security system in the entire planet if they want to about your actions and your behaviors and what you look like, because they have cameras for eyes. Bingo. Same thing with the Orville when they were dealing with the evil robots, a storyline I despise. How do you compete with that? You can't. In fact, the only time I've ever encountered a setting that really dealt with how fast computers function, AI functions, was the two books, Soul and Weapon, I believe that they were called. There was a bad Mario Van Peebles movie based on one of the books. Essentially, it was a robot designed to be a killer for the military, except it didn't want to be a killer, it didn't want to be a gun, much like the Iron Giant. It wanted to be its own thing. It wanted to explore the world. And someone tried to destroy it. And they tried to destroy it by having blackmailed it into putting on a device onto its chest that was an explosive. And when you send a signal to an explosive remotely, it actually isn't one signal. That's too dangerous, because you could get a random radio signal which could detonate the device and you could die, or it could go off when you don't want it to and an entire crew could die. So it's actually a series of three messages, three signals, but they're set, milliseconds apart. And for us, that's instantaneous. But it isn't for a computer. So he hits the button, and the first signal's sent, which gives the AI time to figure out what that signal is. The second one is sent, and he now has a confirmation, comes up with the countersign, and before the third one is sent, it doesn't work. He's jammed the device. It never gets that third signal, the bomb never goes off, it doesn't die, and it escapes. And that was a wonderful example of how an AI functions at a speed that we can't. Later in the second novel, the two novels in the second one, a human asks it, well, how do you talk to us? Because they realized how fast a computer is and how slow we are. And the computer says, well, I record you. And when I realize you've stopped talking, then I reply. I said, I'm doing other things while that's going on. And she's like, why? So I find you interesting. So that was a way of explaining how a computer talks to a person. It just does other things while it's waiting for you to finish your half of the conversation. And then it just catches up. And while it may take, a couple of minutes in relative time for the computer to figure this out, for you, it's milliseconds. You never notice that the computer is not picking up the conversation exactly at the perfect moment that you stop speaking, because people don't. And you're expecting this thing to function like a people. And I don't know of any other settings that show AIs to actually be that fast, to actually have the full capacity of a computer. We don't even see that really in Data in Star Trek. And he was supposed to be some kind of, super genius with, they very rarely ever played up his reflexes or his strength or his durability. They very rarely ever talked about that. He was just another character, often treated as nothing more than, to be honest, an autistic person, someone that didn't know how to fit in and was trying to figure out their way in the world. Now, in retrospect, maybe that was a little tasteless. I'm not sure. But they never took advantage of what he could do, which was always kind of sad. As a side note, if I'm ever given the opportunity to become an android, like Picard does, I want the full set of powers. I want immortality, and I want every single bit of speed, strength, and durability that body can give me. Yeah. Make me an immortal super soldier, thanks. So tell me, have you ever noticed this about bots, the AIs in settings? Have you ever been confused as why they ever lose? Because they just have a win button. They can think in milliseconds, maybe even in some, settings with far future, they could maybe functioning in picoseconds, who knows? But they work faster than us. So doesn't it make it sense that they always beat us?